Can
Can I have my phone?
see. Hi, everybody. Hi, traveling therapist. We have a bonus session here. Let's before I get into it, let me make sure this thing is streaming because half the time it doesn't work right for me. I'm here with Tamara
Okay.
Howell.
Hello, thanks for having me. I'm also
You-
looking on my phone just to check. It looks like you are live, so that's good
Oh,
news.
great. Okay.
Cool.
Yes. Welcome. Welcome to the bonus session of the Traveling Therapist Extravaganza.
Thank you. Thank you so much for thanks so much for inviting me. And I have to say, I love your background. I wish I had made like a party background as well
Well, I thought
next
about it
time.
later that I probably should have sent the background to everybody so we'd all have the same background.
Oh, that's such a cool
Live and
idea.
learn.
Yeah, next time.
Next time. Okay, so let's see. So you guys, I have brought Tamara in early. I know that it's usually scheduled for 6 to 7 this week, but she's over in the UK and it's later there. What time is it there for you?
It's 9:03 p.m. Yes. I
Wow.
have just finished work, so I'm really happy to be with you today.
Me too. I'm so glad. So I just love Tamara. I'm so excited you're here. I've said this all week, but the people I invited to contribute to the course, are traveling therapists. They're amazing. They also have side hustles, multiple income streams, which is, not required to be a traveling therapist, but I think it makes it a lot easier when we have income coming in and we're not just stuck in that one-to-one model. So that was one reason I invited her to be a contributor. But plus, she's in the UK. She travels all over the place. She's totally figured out how to navigate all this. So, welcome. I'm glad you're here.
Thank
Let
you. Thanks so much.
let me look at the comments. Hi, Elizabeth. Elizabeth is watching with us. If anybody's here and you have any questions about what we're talking about, feel free to drop questions in the comments. So, Tamara, will you talk a little bit about your contribution to the course and just like you as a traveling therapist?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I love that. I love that. I didn't know who else was in who had contributed to the course when you asked me. And it's so lovely to see like all the kind of faces of other people who also have multiple income streams, who also traveling and work from different places. And I just think it sounds like it's going to be completely amazing. And it was a real pleasure to make something for you. And I mean, as you know, I like re-recorded it so many times
God,
because
she
it
kept saying, wait, I've
kept,
got to record it again. I was like,
oh
no, I'm sure
gosh,
it's perfect.
I just kept going on and on and on. And then, and I would sort of make my slides and then I'd be like, no, I want to put one more slide. And then so anyway,
Oh,
um,
I
but
love
I
it.
was I was really excited, I was really excited because people ask all the time, like, what do I do if I'm moving to France? What do I do if I'm moving to the EU or to the UK? Or what happens if I'm just spending 6 months there? And originally I did the podcast episode with you and I made this information booklet, and this was just an opportunity to like share a bit more information and give people a bit more like maybe information, but also confidence about the steps to take when you're traveling internationally.
Absolutely, because I know you see it in the traveling therapist group almost every day. Somebody says, "What in the world do I do if I want to go to Mexico or the UK or wherever?" So Tamara has been my go-to person for this. Uh, actually, so and the part she contributed to the course is totally amazing. And she also has, I think we put it in the course, that free checklist. She has a free international guide checklist. Is that what it's called? That just like walks you
Yeah,
through like all the steps.
absolutely. So what I did was I created this checklist. When I was talking to you about it originally, I created this one-page checklist, like, let's just get a system in place for like every time we get an inquiry from a different country or we're going abroad, let's just get like, okay, step 1, check this out. Step 2, check this out. Step 3, check this out. And then you can just go through it and then you feel confident, you've done your due diligence, you've done your research. But then what happened was I started writing out all these other answers. So it's turned into a little booklet, kind of some important information in there, answered the sort of frequently asked questions, but then the checklist is in there as well. So yeah, absolutely. And I feel like that's a pretty good system. It covers the sort of the regulation questions, the insurance questions, the tax question, the safety questions, that kind of thing. And I think that what's important to remember is like, this is evolving, this way of living and this way of practicing is always evolving. And so it's more important to have a system in place for you checking and feeling confident than it is for knowing an answer, because the answer will likely change at some point for different locations.
That's a good point. Yeah, I was just finishing up the recording for the course about insurance billing as a digital nomad. And I reiterated that in there too. It's like, you just don't know, because right now the rules for billing and, the pandemic, and it's all different right now. So it changes in a minute. So I like what you're saying about the system. So important just to have a
Yeah.
process in place, especially for those of you that are like me, that are just like moving around all the time. You're going to want to have this system in place for different countries or states. Absolutely. Yes. Let's see. Somebody's saying, oh, hi, Yale. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Elizabeth saying, in 2015, 2016, I managed to register with the HCPC, now Social Work England, but I found it difficult to gain employment with Brexit and all. I had no idea that I could practice in the UK as a psychotherapist. Is that correct?
Yeah, such a good question. So it really kind of depends on first of all, just as a caveat, I haven't actually heard of anyone getting in trouble for, practicing with a different name or calling yourself something different. So I don't know, but I'm just very risk averse. I'm very careful, and I would rather have all my like T's crossed and I's dotted and things like that for my own professional confidence, right?
Yes.
Just in case. So the technical answer is, if you're a psychologist and you want to practice in the UK, you need to register with the HCPC. A social worker in the US who practices as a therapist would likely come to the UK and practice, if they wanted to, in private practice as a therapist, a psychotherapist or a counselor, which are not protected terms in the UK. But a social worker is different in the UK. That's a different, that's a government-based position.
Yes, right.
So that's not a they might do therapeutic work, but it's not a therapist term that we use. And so yes, like anyone that's a counselor or a psychotherapist can come to the UK and practice as a counselor or psychotherapist, assuming you have professional liability insurance, that you've registered your business for tax, that you are GDPR compliant, all of the same things as registering any kind of business and making sure that you're insured and that you're following, legal regulations. So yeah, theoretically, you can come to the UK and set up private practice as a psychotherapist.
Yes. Does that answer your question, Elizabeth? Let us know if you have a follow-up about that. Yeah. So, go ahead.
So I was just going to say about employment, that is slightly different. So within the NHS, it's very hard to get employed in the NHS as a counsellor or a psychotherapist. So there are psychologists who work in the NHS, there are CBT therapists, and there are other therapists who work in the NHS, but it's notoriously difficult to get a job there.
Wow.
And it's also quite hard to get access to for clients, and generally time limited. So I think there's more people in private practice, maybe part-time or maybe as their side business, but there may be more people in private practice in the UK than necessarily in employment. I mean, that doesn't, it's not to say that there aren't school counsellors and things like that, but I think a lot of people go into private practice.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that makes sense to me. And Elizabeth says, yes, that made sense to her too. So that's good. Oh, hi, Cheryl. Cheryl says hello.
Hi.
Hi, Cheryl. And Elizabeth says, will your course discuss visa types as a private practice therapist in the UK? I can't remember. Did you? No. Okay.
I did not, because I'm not American. I happen to be British. I have a British passport. And so I have not had to navigate that. So unfortunately, I don't have experience of that. However, I do have a contact for a good immigration lawyer in the UK, and I have sent lots of therapists and lots of other people to that person. So I'm always happy to share that, on the
Right.
back end if anyone would like that. And that's probably also the best place to get information about visas and things like that, rather than necessarily, because all our situations are different. So
Yeah, and I guess that's changing too all the time, right? Be
yes.
impossible probably, I think, to put that in the course like specifically. But yeah, that's a good point. Reach out to an immigration lawyer, somebody that would know
Mhm.
exactly how to navigate that. Yeah. Great. Yeah. So Elizabeth, reach out if you want that information. Let's see. Okay, so when you were talking, you mentioned GDPR. I didn't even know what that was until I met you. So, would you mind talking about that just for a second and let everybody
I
know what
love
that is?
being I love being the person who introduces someone to the concept of GDPR. That's
I'm
so
like, what
fun.
the heck?
It's so funny, like GDPR is our data privacy regulation, basically. And it's really just all about how you collect and store and process and destroy data, how long you keep it for, where you keep it, the reasons that you're keeping it. It's essentially like they're very common sense guidelines with a little bit of jargon and just some technical stuff. You have to have a reason for collecting a piece of information. You have to be able to explain what that is before you collect it.
Yes.
um some things about privacy, about safety. So I don't want to freak people out,
Mhm.
by kind of, because I do think that what's happened with GDPR is it has become this sort of ethereal, scary, what is that? It's the equivalent of HIPAA. It's not quite the equivalent of HIPAA,
Yeah.
because everybody has to, like, all businesses have to adhere to it who deal
Oh,
with private
good.
consumers in
Mhm.
the EU and in the UK. We have UK GDPR since Brexit. And so everybody has to do it, and there are special rules for sensitive information, for personal and sensitive data, right? And so, I mean, I like to think that we were all doing that anyway.
Right? Of course we are.
But some of us maybe didn't have like a comprehensive paperwork
Mhm.
necessarily that explained it. So for me, when I freaked out about GDPR when it came into effect, and then I did like
Yeah.
an audit, and I did a training, and I did this and I did this, and there was a lot of misinformation in the beginning.
Mhm.
um so eventually I worked with a lawyer and we developed some paperwork, and the majority of the paperwork is like internal stuff that has just taught me how to store, process, collect data, and has actually been a kind of an audit internal process for me. And there's one
Mm.
piece of paperwork that I share with clients, that's my privacy notice, which I'm sure you have an equivalent of, like your
Yeah.
HIPAA
Yep.
document, with clients, that explains the reasons, how we store data, how long we keep it for, just information about confidentiality, that kind of thing. And
Mhm.
so I worked with a lawyer to make sure that it was really like top
Solid.
notch. All the holes were sewn up, And yeah, so we're actually I put together all the documents that are like GDPR related. I've put into a big mega kind of bundle document, and then you're gonna offer that to people in case they want to bump up the course to include that paperwork
Yeah.
as well. And we're going to do that for a massive discount, right?
Oh my gosh. So yes. So what she said, she reached out to me. She's like, Kim, you know what? I think I want to offer my GDPR bundle, which is like what, like $300 or something. I want to like
Right.
offer it at a massive discount. Let's make it a bump order to your course. And I mean, she's basically giving this thing away at like, I think it's like $67, like a bump order, but
Right,
it's
right.
everything, like all your paperwork, right? Your attorney approved GDPR paperwork. Anybody that wants to work in the UK, they can get this package and just implement that right into their practice.
And what I did was, so that people don't have to watch videos of me talking about it for hours and hours, I've actually just put all the guidance in the document. So it's a great big Google Doc. And then all the guidance is in there, and all the bits that you need to fill in are highlighted in green, so you can't miss anything. And
Amazing.
then it's the bit for the client is the first thing, and then everything else is just internal stuff. The reason why we have the internal stuff is if anyone made a complaint against us, this is the
Mm.
real reason, is if anyone made a complaint I would be able to demonstrate I have been through these steps, I've been through this process, I've implemented these guidelines, therefore, I'm compliant with GDPR. So it's a sort of, as I said, I'm very risk averse. I'm very
Right, that's good.
careful. I'm very like preventative, I guess you could say.
Mm.
But also it has the client privacy notice in there. So for example, like a long time ago, a colleague, one of her clients moved to the UK and she wanted to continue working with her. And that was the only piece of paperwork that she needed to add, really.
Wow.
So she didn't need to do anything else. She just needed to give that piece of paperwork, fill in her
Mhm.
practice details, and then that was it. She could continue working with her client. So I
Wow.
think, so that's why I thought, well, this will make it easy for people, surely.
Yeah, I think it's amazing. Oh my gosh, it never would have occurred to me to do that. So I just think it's so generous of you to offer that, really.
Thanks.
Let me see. We've got, yes, you're welcome. So we've got some do we have comments over here? Oh, okay. Oh, that's me getting private messages. I thought we had a comment. Okay, let's see.
I like
Um
Maggie's comment. Apparently
yeah.
I'm the expert on it. Thanks, Maggie. Maggie's a friend, so you
Oh,
don't
hi
have to take her
Maggie.
word for it.
But you are the expert on it. So hi Maggie,
I just
glad to
like
see you.
talking about it.
Oh, and Hope says, hi, Kim, Tamara. Hi,
Hi
Hope. How are
ho.
you? And Elizabeth said, awesome. That would be a great resource as I want to start, as I want to stay longer than 6 months allowed for US citizens. Thank you. Oh, talking about the visa lawyer. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah,
Yes. Oh my gosh. Well, do you
absolutely.
guys have questions or thoughts or,
I've got a
you know?
question for you. I've got a question for you.
Okay. Yeah.
Can I?
Shit.
Are you
Yeah.
thinking about coming to Europe or the UK on your travels?
I want to. Okay, so we were supposed to go to Greece next week and we had to
I grew up
cancel
in
it
Greece. I
basically.
love Greece.
You did? Oh my God. I was so excited to go. But so I have an autoimmune disorder and I know you can relate to that. And when I got the vaccine, I got super sick. So I decided I wasn't going to get the booster. I didn't think anything of it. 2 weeks before our cruise, they sent out this notice that says EU cruises are requiring a booster within like 200 days or something before you get on the cruise. So I was like, oh my God. So we had to cancel it. We were going to go to Turkey and Greece, and
Oh
I'm just so
no.
bummed. So that was my like European thing I was going to
Oh, I'm
do.
so
So
sorry.
I know, it happens, but we're going to get like a full credit on the cruise. So hopefully I'll be
Oh, good.
able to rebook it. Yeah, I hope.
Yeah, for later. Greece is amazing. Have you been to Greece?
No, I was so excited.
Greece is amazing. Turkey is also amazing, but Greece really, Turkey is wonderful. And I've done a cruise
Oh,
between Greece and Turkey, and it was wonderful. But Greece really has my heart. I grew up there. My parents still live there. My friends are from there. Yeah,
oh
so it's
wow.
wonderful. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's an amazing place.
Oh, I was so looking forward to it. Just the colors of Greece, the blue and the white, and I just love it.
Right. Yeah. And
So
one of my friends, actually, a therapist from the UK, went there during lockdown, during the UK lockdown, and just went to Greece for 6 months and practiced from there, lived on the
wow,
beach, and
nice.
amazing. Yeah, really.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I love being over in Europe, really. My boyfriend's job, that's the other thing. We were talking about this earlier in the extravaganza. Like sometimes your partner's restrictions kind of dictate your restrictions. So he has to work from the United States because he's in a HIPAA compliant position where they require
Mhm.
him to be working in the United States. So that's why we're doing like all around the country right now.
Right.
But who knows? It's a contract he's on, and I'm hoping like maybe one day we'll be able to book it over to Europe for maybe 6 months or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
So
cool.
that's the answer right now. We'll see.
Yeah,
Um,
amazing.
yeah. Oh, I love traveling so much. Oh my gosh. Let's see. Let's see. Andrea is here. Andrea Shipley is here.
Oh, hi, more friends. Hello.
All my friends are here. We're having a party. She says, I have a counseling client from the States who started going to school in the UK. We've continued care. Do I need a GDPR form?
Yeah, Andrea, talk to Morgan about this. Yes, because another friend of ours, Morgan, was in exactly this situation. Yeah, so
Oh,
this is a little bit like what I was saying before. If you're going to continue care, the only piece of extra information that you need is that GDPR privacy notice. So if you live in the UK, it's a little bit different. You have to register with the Information Commissioner's Office. There's all those hoops to jump through and stuff. But if you are in the US, you're just continuing working with someone who goes to the UK, presumably, you know, safety, you've taken care of all the safety stuff and all of those sorts of things, and you've checked that your insurance lets you work with people who are abroad, then the only piece of extra information that you need is the GDPR compliant privacy notice. So the cheapest way for you to get that is to buy the Traveling Therapist course from Kim.
Yeah. And the bump. She's
And
Andrea's
then get
one
the
of
bump.
Andrea's a contributor. Maybe we could work out a deal with her. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So yeah, I hope that answers your question, Andrea. Let us know if you have more.
It's
Andrea,
such an
oh, go ahead.
interesting thing though, that kind of concept of like, well, what happens if I've been working with someone for a few years and then they move? Surely it's better for me to, you know, what happens if I'm working with someone in the UK? I work with a lot of Americans, and then one of them goes back to the US. Well, I'm not licensed in the US, so I can't continue working with them. But at some point in the future, I think that, you know, first of all, like, surely clients should have some sort of say over who they're working with. But at some point in the future, there's going to have to be some kind of you know, reciprocal something or other because of that situation, because clients travel as well.
I know. Yeah.
Mm.
Us therapists over here, we're so stuck with these licensing restrictions. It's so frustrating.
Right.
Yeah. And Andrea, I'd love to ask you, because I know you're licensed in Virginia like I am. Did you get an answer from the board about seeing your clients in another country? I've asked them about 20 times and they never give me an answer. They send me back to the rules and regs, and I don't know. I mean, from what they say, they're so vague. I mean, I assume that it's okay, but I'm curious, Andrea, just as Virginians, if you've got any answers on that.
I
Because
think
that
that
could be real frustrating.
unless they say like unequivocally, no, you cannot. But usually what they say, from what I've heard from other US therapists, usually what they say is like, look at the regulations, or make sure you comply with the regulations in the country there where you are, or the client, or check your insurance or whatever. Like, usually they pass the buck, it looks like.
That's what has always been the answer to me, because I actually wanted to start putting that stuff in the course, like a definitive answer, at least for my state, and I couldn't get one. So she said, I haven't asked the Virginia board. I just researched UK regulations. Yeah. Okay. Well, the answer is really vague and they don't answer it. So you don't need to ask them, I guess.
Kim's done the work for you.
Yeah. I've got their really vague answer that says check the regulations, but there's nothing in the regulations. So
Right.
And as far as the liability insurance goes, I use CPH and Associates for those of you in the United States that are watching, and they basically say it's fine as long as there's a complaint brought. The complaint will need to be heard in your state of licensure, and you have to make sure that you're following your state of licensure's regulations. So that's their answer for me that I've got. Andrea said, passing the buck is the American way. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Basically, nobody answers anything. And then let's see, Kristen said it seems to be consistent with other states as well. Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure you've heard that a bunch tomorrow from different people in different states, the same answer. So yeah. So go see clients in the UK, whatever, do whatever you want to do.
Come and move to the UK and Europe. It's fun, you know, it's good. There are so many people have moved out to, I meet people all the time, like on Facebook, but also in person, like in France, when I moved there many years ago, and I opened an in-person practice before I worked online 100%. And the whole community was, mostly American, some from a few other places, but mostly American therapists who were like kind of lifers in France, you know.
Yes.
They'd moved to France, they'd all married someone French, or they really liked art, or, you know, just kind of got stuck there in Paris somehow. And so the community there is pretty cool and very American, you know, a lot of American therapists who maintain their licenses in the States, you know.
Yeah. Heard a lot of stories. I interviewed somebody the other day that she was studying in Cambridge, I think, and still seeing clients in the United States. It was really interesting. I don't know when that podcast is coming out, but it was super interesting because she's actually trying to like work in the UK as a therapist and see clients there. And she was sharing in the podcast just how hard that process has been to figure out what to do. It's
Oh,
really
well, she should
interesting.
look me up and
I told
I
her
can.
about you, believe me. I was like, make
Okay,
sure you
good. Hook us
yeah,
up. Yeah, for sure. I
I
mean,
did.
also, this is kind of a generalization, but the majority of the time, you're going to get a better rate working with clients in the US than you are
Uh,
working in the UK. That doesn't make it sound very good. But the average hourly fee in the UK for the country is £50 an hour,
oh, how
50
much is that?
pounds for a
What is
session.
that?
I don't know,
What does that
60,
equate to?
60,
Oh,
$65, something like that. I mean,
oh,
it's not very much money. So a lot of people don't necessarily make their main income from private
wow.
practice.
I did
And
not know
that,
that.
I mean, that's not to say it's across the board that way. I charge a high fee. There are plenty of people who do charge higher fees and make up our main income from private practice, but that is the national average is £50 a session. So a lot of the time when US therapists talk to me about moving to the UK, I'm like, great, so just maintain your license, make sure
Yeah,
I'll help you find some insurance in the UK and continue to see your clients there if you've got a steady stream of inquiries.
absolutely. Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, that's so important to know. I had no idea actually that the rates were that comparable. I mean, some people
Yeah,
do charge that in the United States, but then, you hear
sure.
about people like 300 an hour or, it
Right.
really, there's a huge range for sure. Yeah.
I think the
Wow.
range is much smaller. So it's not unusual to hear people charging £100, but it's quite unusual to hear people charging £200 or, any, higher than that. And it's not to say nobody does, but I mean really a handful.
Wow. Interesting. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I could just talk to you for hours.
Just random bits of information.
I was going to do like 10 podcast episodes with just tomorrow. Um,
We can do a whole series.
yeah. Let's see. We have any other questions coming up. Oh, okay. Just, I haven't asked. Okay. Yeah. We've read all these questions. Yeah.
Okay,
So,
cool.
are there any other questions or thoughts or anything you guys want to know? Let us know.
Who are you having on next? Who are you going to interview next in the group?
So
Who's,
at
yeah.
6 p.m., the extravaganza starts back up again. And I'm going to actually, I want to show the back end of the course at first at 6 p.m. I just want to show everybody like everything that's in it. And then at 6:15, Megan Gunnell is coming in and she's going to talk about her contribution to the course, which is, build retreats, travel the world, that kind of thing. So it's super exciting. I just went to I've been to two of Megan's retreats. They're so fun. So we're going to talk about that. And then Shayla Peterson, do you know her? I don't know if
Yeah,
you know Shayla. Yeah,
I know of her. Yeah.
she's awesome. So
Yeah.
again, I was part of the contributors. I wanted people that also had these multiple income streams going on too, because I feel like that's, and I said this in the beginning, but such an important part of this is to be able to have some sort of passive, not exactly passive, but other income streams coming in that can like give you time to travel when you're in these places, because if you're stuck behind the screen, 40 clients a week just to pay your bills, it's not as fun. So I want you guys
Right.
to have fun. So
Yeah,
everybody in the
absolutely.
course has got multiple income streams. Shayla, well, she'll talk tonight, but she created a whole social network called TheraFriends.
Oh,
I don't know if you've heard of that.
wow.
Yeah, she's
That's
it's
so cool.
TheraFriends. It's like a membership, but they get together and they do all this stuff together. So I can't wait for her to tell
Oh,
everybody about that.
that's so cool.
But yeah,
That's such a great idea. Loads of new ideas, loads
uh,
of it's really, I love watching the multiple income stream kind of, business building. And it's so true because, even in the pandemic, but moving between countries, I wouldn't be able to have a fuller practice than I have. And it's
great.
so helpful to be able to work when I need to, or when around the rest of my life, essentially, around my child and my husband and my cats, and my whatever, my plants and my,
Yeah.
movements and things like that. So yeah, it's really helpful. And that's a great kind of angle that you've added to the course so that, people really consider all of those, all of
Mhm.
those perspectives. That's very cool.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, because I just want everybody watching and everybody to know that, it's as simple as really just like finding like a niche that you feel passionate about and then seeing what the hole is in the niche and then figuring out a way to fill it. Maybe it's a master class, maybe it's a course, maybe it's a webinar. Um, maybe it's a Facebook group, there's tons of, maybe it's a membership. There's tons of different ways to do it.
It's
And I
not a
did put a
Facebook group.
training. Yeah, I'll do
It's
Facebook. No,
not a Facebook group.
they're
It
stressful.
could
They're
be,
good,
but
but
it's
stressful.
not.
Um, I put a training in the course too, the traveling therapist course. It's like a basic, like how to get your other income streams going if that's what you want to do. So I just got like kind of like all the basic ingredients to like put something together if that's what you wanted to do. Because I do feel passionate about having that extra income so you can enjoy where you're traveling.
That's amazing. I can't believe the value that you're offering inside of this. There's so much you've thought of, like so many different things, and like brought in people, and then you're creating things. And I mean, it just sounds like
Yeah.
intense over delivery.
I well, I do tend to do that, and I'm
Yeah.
like you were saying with your presentation, I'm always like, oh wait, I want to add this other part, and then I'm like, I'm gonna make a whole nother training on it, and then before it's like 15 trainings, and it's like, oh, you're only charging 297. I can't believe this, but it's like, I don't know. I just always feel like I need to include everything, so that's what I did.
Yeah. Do you remember when you first brought up the pricing for the course and you were like, I'm thinking about 297, and I was like, what are you
Yeah,
talking
I'm
about?
like, are you crazy?
I was
Well,
like,
you
this
didn't
is
say
like a
that.
$2,500 course. What are you talking about? And you were like, I don't know. I just want to make it so everyone can.
Yeah, I want it to be affordable, because I do feel so passionate about this. Like, just we all have that client, right? That's like 75 or whatever, and they've just retired, and they're like, "Gosh, I don't even, I haven't done anything with my life. All I've done is work." And now they're like, "Okay, now I'm going to embark and do this journey," but they're like, their hips out, or they're just exhausted. They're taking naps during the day. Like they can't live that like fulfilled life. And to me, that just seems like the worst possible thing ever, to have to wait until you're like so old and retired that you can't even physically maybe, do some of the things that you've always dreamed about doing. So I am passionate about it, and I want to offer it at a cheap price too, so everybody can get it, even like new therapists that are coming up, because I want you guys to start out early with this mindset instead of like, oh my God, I've got to work like a dog forever and then do it later, you know?
Amazing. Yeah,
Yeah. So
definitely. You're so
that's,
awesome. I'm so
oh, you're
like in
so
awe
awesome.
of you. No, you really like it's very like inspiring, and I'm sure lots of people watch and listen and they're just really like blown away by what you do for the community, and I think it's very amazing. So
And you too, actually. And what about your Thera bundle? Do you want to say anything about that? Because you've got something awesome that you just put together. Do you want to even mention it? I don't know.
I'm making something. Do you remember when you like putting this all together, and I was like, I did a training on a bundle, and it's this, and this is what it means, and these are
Yes,
the
yes, yes.
numbers, and then
And you
like
guys
this
were like, don't call it a bundle. And then
this isn't a bundle. This is a collaborate, all this kind of stuff. I just got so like really, I've done so much coaching on it and training on it. It's very, very specific. Anyway, so I'm
yeah,
putting together a bundle of other people's courses. It's not created in the same way. This one is actually going to be very easy to access your creation, because people just log in and everything is waiting for them, which is
yes.
why you should be charging so much more. So mine is going to be less money and more work to sign up for everything, but it's shaping up totally amazing, really, really amazing people in there. I'm just totally, I mean, I just can't even, I don't even have words for the amazing contributors and the stuff
So
that's in
excited
there.
for it.
It's going to be
Yes.
it's going to be so cool. And I keep forgetting, like, no one knows like who all the other contributors are. It's
I
really
know. I'm like, I
exciting.
can't wait to actually hear who all's in it,
No,
You're
it's
like,
gonna be so cool. And also, but all the offers that are in there are like, I mean, this is a curated bundle. So there are
yeah,
like no double ups, everything is unique. I had to say no to a lot of people already because, just because of the numbers and things like that.
yeah.
That was that's been incredibly difficult. So I'm excited about it, but I've also found this process like grueling. So anyway.
Yeah. Oh, I can't wait to hear more about that.
Cool. Thanks for mentioning it.
Yes, thank you for doing it. So Kristen says, I may have missed this. Does the UK have a mental health counseling license available? Do you want to kind of touched on that in the beginning, but do you want to say anything about that?
Yeah, not really. So yeah, I mean, yes, I will say something, but no, not really. We don't have so we don't have a licensing board. We have we've got voluntary membership bodies that you can become a member of. There are several sort of big ones, and then there are quite a few medium and small ones. And but they don't give licenses. They have like ethical guidelines that you commit to a certain number of professional professional development hours a year, certain number of supervision, which is what in the US you would call consultation, we call supervision, and we do that for our whole careers. We have to do that, like a certain amount of hours, we have to do that per month. And so you can choose to become a member, and a lot of people do. I recommend being a member of that. I think it's cool to be part of an organization and kind of have, I do think, anyway, lots of people will disagree with me, but I think it's cool. So
Yeah, if it's for you. Yeah.
but we don't have like a license as such. So this is different if you're a psychologist, because psychologists have to register with the HCPC, but for everyone else, mental health professionals, addiction therapists, psychotherapists, counselors, no, there's no licensing board. I know that's alarming. I agree with you that that's alarming.
Got it.
That's
But
the
there is
answer.
GDPR paperwork that helps keep
Yeah,
things.
but that's, I
Yeah.
mean, but it's the same as every business has to,
I get it. Yeah.
So there isn't, so regulation is a hot topic in the UK currently, because there are some organizations that are kind of trying to bring in some form of regulation, and there's some resistance and there's some support, and
Yes.
I'm pro regulation. So
yeah, I hear you. I mean, I think it's important too, for sure. Okay. Well,
cool.
See any more questions? Thank you, Tamara, for coming. Oh my gosh. I know
Thank
it's late.
you so much for having me. And I hang out in this group, and if people have questions later, you can always pop them in the comments, and I can come back. And also I may have answered it inside the course. I may have answered the questions. It's so very thorough.
Very thorough. She re-recorded it multiple times with lots of content.
And my recording process was so, like, in the end, I just recorded, and I would just keep going and keep going and keep going, and then cut it, and then it was
wonderful. It's
I really
wonderful.
wanted to be succinct and to the point, but also thorough. So it's hard to do that.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. Elizabeth says, thank you, Kim and Tamara. You're very welcome.
Thank you.
Yes, nice to see everybody. And I'll see you guys back at 6 p.m. Eastern time tonight. If you want to come for I'm going to show the back end of the course, and then Megan, and then Shayla after that. Okay. Cool. Oh, hi, LP Washington says, thank you, Kim and Tamara. Very informative. You're welcome.
Thanks for the people who came and asked questions.
Hope gave us a big smiley face. Bye. Okay. Talk to you later.
Bye. See you.
Bye, everybody. See you at 6 p.m. Bye.